Welcome to another week of the Remodeler Show. Brand spanking new week, Monday, June 22nd, 2020. I'm Kyle Hunt. This is a show that I put on Monday through Friday. It's been 2 full weeks. This is the start of week number 3, and I'm committed to it through this week. And then I'll tell you later this week, I'm actually taking next week off because going on a trip with my wife for our 15-year anniversary. So the Remodeler Show, after a consistent 3 weeks, we'll be going off air for a week, and then I'll be back. But I hope you're enjoying it, getting some good feedback. We're here to just learn, understand, ask questions, and to become a better remodeler. It's a simple goal. So appreciate you dialing in for it. We're going to have a little intro today from a longtime client. You're about to hear him.
This is Ben Templeton with Templeton Building Company in Birmingham, Michigan. And this is the Remodelers Show with the wonderfully fantastic Kyle Hunt.
Ooh, Ben. Didn't nail it. Ooh. There we go. There it is. Little applause from Ben Templeton with Templeton Building Company. He called me the wonderfully fantastic. I appreciate that, Ben. I'm going to tell you more about Ben in a little bit. What I wanted to start today's show with was something that I talked about last week, but I didn't get into it. I said, ooh, we're going to cover this in this little segment of Know Your Numbers. Last week, we dug into how do we approach job costing. We talked about the P&L statement. And what I want to talk about today is the importance and the steps involved with creating a business budget. I think after a wonky would be a good description of it, first half of the year for the great majority of us, getting an updated business budget or creating a business budget for the second half of the year would be a very wise thing to do. All of my remodeling clients, I'm wanting to do this. One, to have it set up at the start of the year, which we were able to achieve. And then also it's very important to update it. Why? There's certain feedback that I receive related to a business budget over the years. And I still hear it a little bit of going, Kyle, like what's going to happen is going to happen. Why do I need to create a business budget? Like I can't force people to sign up for me. Like the revenue is going to be what the revenue is going to be. I hear that feedback a decent amount over the years, or thinking that creating a business budget is just kind of an exercise to go through, but it's futile. There's not a lot of value in it. And I have just seen way too much value from having a business budget to believe that. I've seen it be an effective way, an effective gauge, an effective planning tool for so many remodelers. So I want to talk about kind of how I go about setting it up, which will hopefully help you kind of give you some infusion of ideas there. And also along the way, just share some of the reasons why it's important. So the way that you can create a business budget, frankly, starting it halfway through the year makes it a little easier because there's not as much guesswork. But ideally, we're talking November, December the year prior, a lot of times December the year prior, or right after the new year if you're kind of a little tardy with it. And what we want to do is first, we want to analyze the previous year's data. Let's really understand what our 2019 results were. Let's look at our top line revenue, divide that by 12. What was our average over the year for our top line revenue? Let's look really closely at what's included in all of your cost of goods sold line items. And also, what was the percentage of cost of goods sold? Okay, it was 67% this year. Okay, let me understand that. Okay, You look back at 2018, 2017, a couple of years prior. What was our cost of goods sold percentage the last few years? Do a little comparison there. You get down into the expenses. You remind yourself of what you spent last year and what categories you spent it in. And then you look down and see what the net profit is. And as we talked about with the P&L, understand what may come out of the net profit, owner draw, loan payments, and just really dig in and do a little background to understand what that results for the last few years have looked like. And then you want to go into QuickBooks and you want to go into the budgeting section and you want to set up a new budget for the year. A lot of times, the reason it's kind of nice maybe to pull it in January is because you can take last year's data. Oftentimes, I like to take all of last year's data when we're starting a new budget and bring that over. You can start at the top line. Maybe you already have a number in mind of what your top line revenue goal is for the upcoming year. Plug that in the top. Oftentimes, I will remove and just delete all of the different numbers that are in all of the different cost of goods sold line items, because what we'll end up doing is we'll end up just taking a percentage will kind of guesstimate and estimate what percentage is going to be cost of goods sold. So when I look at that, what we'll do is we'll look at the previous few years. We will look at, wow, it ended up being a little bit higher last year, and we'll think about those projects. Was there a project that really hit you hard that ended up kind of knocking your cost of goods sold around? We'll think through, if we don't have work in progress accounting, we'll think through, were there any really big deposits at the start of the year or at the end of the year that didn't have costs against it? We'll analyze that a little bit. At the end of the day, we're going to decide, okay, this is our goal for what we want to hit as far as our percentage of cost of goods sold. A lot of times it'll range anywhere from 63, 64 up to 68, 69. A lot of times that's where I see the numbers coming in at for my clients. Okay. Once we have that kind of sorted out and figured out, we'll go down into the expenses. There's less guesswork down here. Let's get into our insurance and our advertising and our accounting and et cetera, and look at what you spent last year and then plug in what is your budgeted amount for this upcoming year, or you can do this for the balance of the year. And then when you plug all that in, all those numbers in, and you go and look at kind of a budget versus actual report in QuickBooks, it's going to spit out kind of what your net profit looks like given the data that you put in, your top line revenue goal, your cost of goods sold, your expenses, and then it's going to spit out what that net profit looks like. Let's say you go through that exercise, you look at your net profit and you go, ugh, that's not as much as I was hoping for, because maybe you added some expenses. Maybe you hired somebody, halfway through last year, you hired an office manager, and this year you've got the annualized amount of that. When it doesn't look like you want it to, there's a few things that need to be looked at. Either you can cut expenses, that would help improve your bottom line. You could look at your cost of goods sold and say, you know what, we're going to increase our markup. So I'm making more gross profit dollars for every dollar of revenue I bring in, which will drive down your cost of goods sold percentage. Or you look at that top line revenue goal and say, you know what, if we produce 1.5 million this year, it's not enough to produce the net profit and take care of all of our job related and business related expenses. So maybe you set a little bit higher goal as far as your annual goal. If you're just listening to this and you're hearing it, you're hearing some of the strategy and the things you have to wrestle with. I'm giving you kind of the quick and dirty kind of view of this and how I look at it. But once you have and you've wrestled with that business budget, it helps you make decisions of how much and where you're going to do your advertising. You've already incorporated in some potential hires or some potential additional investments you're making. Maybe you've now taken on doing a 3% match on your 401k. You enter all of these decisions that you're making or you're planning on making for the year into your budget, which gives you a lot more confidence and clarity on how the numbers all come together. Usually after the first quarter, it's a good time to take a quick peek at your budget versus actual for the first 3 months. Definitely halfway through the year, let's do a deeper dive, pull up that budget versus actual. We've set up this budget for the first half of the year. Here's what our actual is. Just kind of compare line by line. Yes, these expenses are similar. These are expenses. Ooh, there's an outlier. And it's just something to keep an eye on throughout the course of the year. It gives you some clarity, some direction, some different goals to shoot for. Okay, so that's kind of the know your numbers, your business budget. If you've never done this before, just rewind this recording and just kind of, okay, so let me just go into QuickBooks, set up a new budget. Let me go through and just like I described in each section, some things to be thinking about and how to create it. The first time you do this budget, it's going to feel a little clunky. It's going to be like, I don't know how much this is going to, help me make decisions. And then each year, what I see with my clients, each year as they make this, they're understanding their numbers better. They're knowing their numbers better. They're knowing what to kind of adjust for. It's helping them make hiring decisions. It's helping them be confident in raising their markup. Just a ton of different goals there. And another one that comes out of it is you've got a little bit of a goal of how much you're looking to sell and produce each month. Instead of saying, well, just as much as we can, there's an actual goal to shoot for. And that helps. That helps drive us. So there's a little bit during this Remodeler show, a little opening parlay related to knowing your numbers and how to approach the business budget. I feel like I might have gone through that a little swiftly. Maybe I should have slowed down as I was going through each part. But you can always hit replay. You can also always ask me questions saying, Kyle, can you explain that part again? I'd be happy to answer them. Cool. So that part of the show is done. The next part that I wanted to share here is related to technology. And I just wanted to bring to your attention, if you haven't seen it or if you're not using it, it used to be called in Gmail canned responses. Now it's simply just called templates. So if you're using Gmail, when you have a new email you're creating, you can click on templates and select it. Maybe it's an email that you send out regularly. It might be the email you send between the initial phone call and the in-person meeting. It might be what you put together when you send out a request for a proposal from your trade partners. What are these recurring emails that you create? You create it one time, you set it up as a template, and it just flat saves you time. You go in there, you select it, it populates for you, you tweak it if you need to, and you can send it. So it just saves you time. It's very convenient. You write something up that, you spend a lot of time and make sure it's crafted just right, and then save that sucker so that next time it's easy to access. Now that's in Gmail. It makes it super easy, but pretty much any email platform you're using these days, whether it's Outlook or another one, you're going to see a feature in there that says templates. Go ahead and start to create those templates one by one, which will help you save time. Because there's a lot of stinking things to do as a remodeler, and you need to figure out some ways to save time. So that was the second thing I wanted to share with you folks today. We're going to move on to this section of the show.
AKA, Ask Kyle Anything. It's time for your questions.
Yes, indeed. Oh, it's a little quiet on the old comments section, folks. Usually there's some interaction there. We've got a decent number of people watching today's show live. Any questions that you guys have, start tossing those in the comments box, either on the Facebook live stream or the YouTube live stream, if you will. And I'll give it a second, take a little sip of water. Good morning, Rhonda. Hello, hello. Maybe we'll see what questions pop up, and I might circle back to it. This is something that I wanted to cover with you all today. So we're going to move on from the Ask Kyle Anything and move on to a different section of things here. It's kind of a relaxed, a little bit more laid back show today. Talk a little bit about strategy. If you, now it's probably a different percentage for everybody, but let me just use some round numbers. If you are a remodeler who's active in the sales process or active with estimating or active with project management, chances are 90% of your time is spent in the business. This whole in the business versus on the business thing you guys may have heard of, right? In the business, doing the work, satisfying the client, making sure everything is happening with your projects. 90%, let's say. 10% of your overall time you work. So if you work a 40-hour week, which most of you do, a lot of you work like 36 hours, you're just mailing it in because this remodeling thing's super easy, right? But let's say you do 40 hours, 10% of your time might be spent on the business, meaning working on my business, working on improving systems. Maybe it's your marketing, sales process, etc. What I see happen often, and I'm guilty of it too, is that we have a limited amount of time to work on the business, and we end up splintering that time up amongst 8 different things. Well, I'm going to work on marketing. I'm going to work on this process. I'm going to update my estimating sheet, and I'm going to work on my pre-construction meeting agenda. We take a limited amount of time and we try to do 8 different things in it. And one thing that I need to be reminded to do in my business, and that I want to encourage you to be reminded of, is that oftentimes it is helpful to just select one thing at a time when it comes to the on the business work, because it's limited. You only have so much time to start with. So if you're really hustling, you might say the on the business task of the week is I'm going to work on this and getting this done this week. Or maybe it's a bigger thing and you say, look, during the month of June, or coming up during the month of July, I'm going to work on implementing this and fixing this on the business item. So just think through that. What often happens is we have 6 or 7, 20% of the way finished things that we're working on the business versus taking one thing and 100% implementing it. I've hired a coach to help me keep my eye on these things, some accountability to keep my eyes on these things. And it's just a common thing that I see with my remodelers. So hopefully that might spark you to say, you know what, this week, I'm not going to worry about these other 10 things that I could be doing. I'm going to focus my on the business time on this. So hopefully that's a helpful little reminder and thought for you. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, we've got, looks like a funny man or gal. Let me see here. I'm going to open up Facebook. We've got this question. What is the meaning of life, the universe, and everything? It is officially an Ask Kyle Anything call. I had a hunch that it might have been Michael Anschel, because he's been on the last few Ask Us Anything. Looks like Amy Brown liked Michael's comments of Kyle. Come on, what is the meaning? We also have a follow-up question to that, which is, what is the answer to life, the universe, and everything? So, Michael, here's what you're going to get from me, man. I'm not going to go super far there, but I'm going to go a little bit there because you struck me on a day where that's kind of hitting. My wife and I spent 2 hours this morning with a pastor of a church that we went to for 10 years through a variety of things that I will not necessarily share on the Remodeler show. We had to leave our church 2 years ago, and there was a lot that went into that. I served as an elder at our church, led a Sunday school class. We were very involved. For kids that are involved with friends, family, this was our community. This is what we were doing life with them within a Christian church there. We met this morning, and this pastor seeked us out and just asked for forgiveness, asked for some repentance, and asked us to just forgive him for what happened. It was just a very beautiful, kind, thoughtful, wonderful thing this morning. So I just saw that living out of this concept. Certainly in the Christian faith, that is a very strong part of our faith. But I think also just when I bring that a little bit more macro in our culture, in our world right now, this concept of asking for forgiveness, apologizing, offering forgiveness, repenting for the wrong we've done to somebody else, loving our neighbor as ourselves. That whole concept is something that I just saw live out in a very countercultural, beautiful way this morning. So there's some meaning of life, the universe, and everything. Is that what you were looking for, my friend? Because that's what you got this morning. And hey, when people ask me questions, I take it seriously. And there's a little maybe encouragement or thing that we all need to be hearing and living out. All right, cool. Here's another Ask Kyle Anything, since we went back to Ask Kyle Anything. What do you know about protecting an idea you are branding your company with? It could be a catchphrase that you want all of your marketing content to be associated with. Is it worth protecting it, trademarking it, etc.? This is from Tom. Tom, so I don't know a ton about it. I have not had any of my clients pursue that. I have seen a friend and colleague, why am I drawing about? Sean Van Dyke. Sean has done an awesome job of having really effective phrases that he trademarks. Paid for planning is one of them, the Craftsman cycle. So it's made me kind of intrigued to go, wow, when you have a process and you've got a name for it, to protect it and to trademark it, especially from a business coach standpoint, makes a lot of sense. Sean and I have talked briefly about it. So it would have to be, I think, Tom, so I think there is a time and a place for it. I've worked with a lot of remodelers and we've never done it. But I think sometimes we, just going out there and executing it, putting it out there, and if it's super special, super unique, just search, how do you trademark, a phrase? There's a lot of just online services. It's probably going to cost you $1,000, $1,200 to go through that process. You might contact a local lawyer that might specialize in copyright and trademark work. But part of me is like, you know what, get out there and implement it. Just keep innovating, putting it out there. And if you think it's super unique, then maybe you do make that investment, or you look at it and go, well, for $1,200, let me just put it out there. If I get copied, if somebody wants to swipe it, that happens. I'm going to just keep innovating and come up with the next thing. So without knowing exactly what it is, look at, just do a couple searches. You'll find it. Very cool. Sounds like restoring integrity happening. Living in integrity is a powerful way of being. Yeah. This whole, one of the phrase, it's just so weird in our culture. Frankly, it's weird within the church to really live out this thought of forgiveness and reconciliation. And we are living through times right now that we need to be about that. Yes, in the Christian faith and the church, but also our society with everything we're going through. So thanks for asking that. I'm guessing you were asking that question just to kind of poke and prod, but you got serious answer. So there you go. Cool. All right. And Tom, I hope that was helpful. Reach out to, I'd be curious what you have up your sleeve with that. And if you want to chat offline, I'd be happy to maybe give some more direction on it. Cool. Let's move on to this one.
Let Kyle tell you about a remodeler on the rise.
Tell you about a remodeler on the rise. My friend and colleague, Ben Templeton, did the opening today. What did he call me? He said the wonderfully fantastic. Thank you, Ben. The only reason I've enjoyed the show just because people have been saying nice things about me at the start of these intros. Y'all who watch this, I'm looking at you. You guys should create some intros for me. I've got enough to get me through this week, but I need some for the next after vacation week. So feel free to just record a little something. You can hear the outline and send it over. I'd appreciate it. But a few words on Ben Templeton. Ben is a second generation remodeler. His dad started the business about, I think, 25, 30 years ago. And Ben has stepped into the leadership role and taking it over. A couple things that just come to mind that I think is relevant for you guys to hear. How do you continue to get the right people on the right seats on the bus? He has done several times. They have 20, 25 employees. It's a little bigger business. But I've seen how instead of maybe getting rid of somebody or moving on from somebody that is not a good fit, he's really done that whole, you know what? I bet you this person would be better over here. And I'm going to move this person over to this position, this seat. And it worked really well for him. He's just executing this in another way right now that I think is going to be very beneficial. So continuing to not just write people off for saying, they're not a good fit for us, but looking at how maybe it's just that position's not a great fit for him. He's lived that out, and I've seen it be very fruitful. Another thing that he does is just how do you continue to set an expectation of excellence? One thing that Ben heard me say years ago is this little things thing that I talk about. Running a successful remodeling business, it's not about finding one thing. It's about a lot of little things. He has just incorporated, we are about the little things. We take care of our clients at a very high level. Our workmanship and craftsmanship is at a very high level. And that, not requirement, but expectation of excellence flows from the top down, the bottom up. It is embedded in their business. And I think that's something that you can shape your culture by increasing those expectations, by rewarding people and highlighting people that are hitting that, by continuing to remind them over and over again of what it means to do business in their case, Templeton way. So take that to heart, continue to work with your team on that. It's something that Ben's been really good at and that has been very beneficial for the business. And then he's upbeat, kind of just always finding the positive and pushing forward. And I wrote relentless with improving systems, processes, and getting better. Are you relentless with continuing to strive to get better? As a business owner, as a leader of people, that is a really good thing to do. Sometimes we need time to just decompress from that and not be pursuing, improvement. But it's important that we continue to show our team what that looks like, and for us to continue to feed our minds and continue to work to get better. So that's a little bit about the wonderfully fantastic. I'll throw it back at him, Ben Templeton with Templeton Building Company in beautiful Birmingham, Michigan. Cool. So there's your feature, a remodeler on the rise. Let me see what we got for this one.
Wondering what Kyle actually does? Here's how he can help.
How I can help. I was going to highlight, again, 2 courses that I have. Remodel your sales process and remodel your marketing plan. If you are kind of stuck with, I don't really have a marketing plan. I kind of do a few things. I don't really have a game plan for it. I don't have a budget for it. If you go to remodelyourmarketingplan.com, it outlines what the course covers. And as a listener of the Remodeler show or a viewer of the Remodeler show, you get a 25% discount on that course. And then similarly, if your sales process is clunky, if you're kind of shooting from the hip, if you don't have a step-by-step process that you're walking homeowners through to get from lead to paying project, go to remodelyoursalesprocess.com. You'll see kind of the step-by-step of the course, and it would be a tremendous training for you as the primary salesperson, or if you have a sales team or a salesperson, it is wonderful training for them to go through. So that is a little bit of what Kyle does. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I do work hard. I do work hard to deliver value through those. I hope you're enjoying the Remodeler show. We're on the home stretch here. I've covered kind of everything that I had on my list except for one. And let me just see if there's any questions, and then I will go ahead and do this last one. All right, cool. Some good interaction. I appreciate it, folks. And this last one is this concept. What title would I put this down under? Well, just again, like business strategy. There are $10, $100, and $1,000 work. Okay. There's work that you do day in and day out that's either kind of $10 an hour work. You got to get it done, but it's not super valuable. $100 work, which is a little bit more valuable, and $1,000 an hour work. What I have found is if you're going to continue to grow your business and you're going to continue to improve your business, you as the business owner needs to be focused on the $100 and $1,000 an hour work. And often we spend more time on that $10 an hour work that we need to find a way to delegate and to move to somebody else's plate so that we can have more time to focus on 100, 1,000. Some examples: $10 an hour work, depositing money at the bank, taking out the trash, although sometimes that's good to do to show that you are not above it. Printing invoices, addressing envelopes, data entry in QuickBooks or your CRM system, picking up supplies or permits, running to Office Depot or the post office. Work that needs to happen, but not necessarily the most valuable use of your time. $100 work, putting together an estimate for a project, reviewing a job cost report, setting up the schedule for an upcoming kitchen remodel, leading a pre-construction conference, smoothly handing off the project from sales to production. More valuable work, $100 work. And then we have examples of $1,000 an hour work. Your in-person meeting with a new prospect. Nobody can do it better than you, and that's where you really thrive. Or presenting your design or proposal to a prospect. Business planning and strategy work. Doing a deep dive and review of your financials and adjustments you need to make. Networking your business to build know, like, and trust with a group. What's really helpful to do is just kind of take stock of your day. So you could just have a sheet that just has 8 o'clock, 8:15, 8:30, 8:45, and just kind of document for a week or so the tasks that you're doing, just the tasks that you're doing throughout the week, and then put $10, $100, or $1,000 next to each of them. What that usually jumps out at when I have my clients work through this is it identifies some work that, wow, I'm doing way too much $10 work, which is not leaving me enough time to do this more valuable and important work that I need to be doing to continue to move this business forward. So that is a little exercise that has been very helpful, not only just for the owner of the business, but also if you have a second in command or a vice president or a next person, they also have their list of 10, 100, and 1,000 that they need to continue to delegate so they can focus on their most valuable work. So it's been a concept that's been very helpful over the years, and just identifying. I think too often we continue to hold on to a lot of $10 work because it's easy, because we've always done it. But that is preventing us from getting at the more valuable work that we should be at. So just a little concept, a little business strategy there that resonates with a lot of people. There we go. So that is our 1 minute warning, even though the screen says 2 minute warning. Share in the comments if you would, as we're rounding out the first episode of week 3 of the Remodeler show. What was something you learned today? And I will also share it. When I start, I guess it was funny that Michael, you asked that question of what's the answer to life and universe and everything. What's the meaning of everything? I'm in a little bit of a different mood literally 20 minutes before this started is the start of my workday because we were meeting with our friend and pastor friend. So just in a little different reflective type mood, kind of like, now I got to transition into to work mode. And it's interesting that you kind of brought up that question, which allowed me to share some things that are in my heart. So I appreciate you asking that. And also what you said sounds like some restoring integrity, living in integrity is a powerful way of being, like you wrote there. That's super important. Cool. And outside of that, what would I say would be my other takeaway? I feel like I may have rushed a little bit or cruised through that start of today's show on the business budget. So let me just kind of consolidate that, and then we'll call it a day, and we'll see you tomorrow at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern. If you do not have a business budget, get into your QuickBooks, go to budgeting section, and create a budget. Listen back to this replay. You'll hear step by step how I kind of walk through setting that up. If you set up a business budget at the start of this year or at the tail end of last year, it is a good time to do a good review of that. We have had the impact of Corona and everything going on. It is a good time to update that sucker for the second half of the year. When you're able to see those numbers and how your actual compares to budget, it helps you be a more organized, solid remodeler. It helps you in making decisions. It helps put a fire under your butt to kick in some things. It helps you watch your numbers more closely, which allows you to be more profitable. Cool. So if you heard something you like today, make sure you get out there and implement it. Will ya? Pretty please?